Snapchat's parent company Snap Inc. is open for public trading today on the New York Stock Exchange.
We'll talk to experts, students, and look at social media reaction to see how the company performed on its first day.
Live from the Annenberg Media Center. See It Live starts right now.
Snap CEO Evan Spiegel was on Wall Street today, ringing the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. Snapchat went public today, and the New York Stock ended the day on a high note. Good evening, I'm Mark Salinger.
And I'm Madison Weil. The LA-based tech company did not receive a warm welcome back home. Annenberg Media was in Venice today, where protesters gathered outside Snapchat's headquarters in Venice.
Say no to the IPO. Say no to the IPO.
Venice Beach residents took to the streets today to protest America's newest publicly traded company. They're concerned Snapchat is changing the largest into a tech park.
And ever since Snapchat has come into the community, it's been very disruptive. They're not giving back to the community. They're not concerned about what they're doing to Venice, and that's what's upsetting us all.
This so-called corporate campus has expanded to include several buildings on Market Street, forcing local businesses out.
They're not just taking office buildings, they're taking local business spaces. It's scary because I'm an artist here too, and if things keep going the way they're going, we could lose the boardwalk.
Just a few short months ago, this building you see behind me used to be a neighborhood bar. Now, it's the tech company's food court.
Snapchat brought in curbside food trucks around noon, but it wasn't only for employees. Free food was offered to protesters and bystanders next to the company's headquarters. Protest organizers urged people not to take the food.
The people that I have organized are not, because we're here for the long run and you know, we're in for the long fight.
But for many, free food is, well, free food.
People are hungry. When I walk by myself, I had something to eat. That's one thing I'd be interested in, us being able to get handouts from them. That's something I feel that they should provide.
In a statement to Annenberg Media, Snap Inc. said, quote, "We don't just have our headquarters here. Many of us also call Venice home. We've been very grateful to be part of this creative community for over the last 4 years, and we've worked closely with local schools and nonprofits to be a good neighbor." In the meantime, organizers say they will continue to protest Snapchat until the company agrees to meet with the Venice Beach Neighborhood Alliance. For Annenberg Media, I'm Tommy Brooksbank.
Now, even with Snapchat's IPO and the Dow Jones surpassing 21,000 points for the first time yesterday, the stock market was down today. The Dow slipped 112 points to finish the day at just two points over the 21,000 mark. The Nasdaq fell more than 42 points to end at 5,861. Snap Inc. is far from the first Silicon Valley tech company to make its debut on Wall Street with a highly anticipated IPO or initial public offering. Snap finished its first day on the stock exchange up nearly 7.5 points, closing at $24.48. Began trading for $24, a 40% increase over its IPO price. The Snap IPO is being compared with those of Facebook and Twitter. Facebook spent 8 years building up its user base before it went public, twice as long as Snap. Facebook's IPO was $38 a share, but it took more than a year for the stock to start trading above the IPO price. Twitter's IPO was valued at $26 and stayed above its IPO price for nearly 2 years. Facebook stock started off slow but in the first year, but has been rising steadily since July of 2013. It's now up to nearly $30. It's now up nearly $30 in the past year and has surpassed Berkshire Hathaway and ExxonMobil stock. Twitter stock started very strong but has been struggling since. Share prices have fallen nearly $3 in the past year alone and are now trading more than $10 below the IPO price. Now, we wanted to find out more about what we might expect to see Snap and how it might perform on Wall Street and how this impacts investors. Madison is with a member of the Trojan Investing Society now. Madison?
Thanks, Mark. That's right. I'm joined now by Jordan Ellis, who is a member of the Trojan Investment Society. So obviously a huge day for Snapchat. And do you think that USC students, or by extension millennials, really think that this is a big move for Snapchat or a good move for Snapchat? Do they understand what's happening?
We've got a very interesting situation going on. We saw a company go public at a $24 billion valuation, and it closed the day at a $33 billion valuation. And in my opinion, this valuation is completely unwarranted. Although Snapchat's revenue in 2016 was very impressive at a strong $500 million, they not only reported $0 in profit, but a $400 million loss. So we're going to see a bit of a tug of war in the years to come between what Snapchat's user base expects to see from the platform and what investors expect to see from the platform.
So why all the hype then? You know, with, like, as you mentioned, if it did have that 0% profit margin, what is the hype today?
I think just like Amazon, when Amazon went public back at the beginning of the decade, in the early 2000s, it was also a company at $0 of profitability, but investors saw future growth and they saw the potential for the company to eventually reach that point of profitability.
Right.
And in my opinion, I think that's what investors are eventually going to be expecting from Snapchat. But unfortunately, Snapchat CEO Evan Spiegel has come and said that he doesn't see profitability coming anytime soon, and he wants to continue focusing on the core objectives of the company, even if that means setting profits aside.
Right. Well, obviously, investors are excited about it. It's a big company. It's a creative company, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in the future. Thank you so much for being here, Jordan.
Thanks for having me.
Now over to Jake to talk a little bit about shareholder voting power.
Yeah, Maddie, the company going public means anyone with a little cash in their pocket can buy stock in Snapchat. The catch here is that those shares being sold, starting at $17 each, don't come with any voting rights. That means Snap will take your money, but you won't have any say in how the company is run, which isn't how these things usually work. Snap even wrote in its IPO paperwork, to our knowledge, no other company has completed an initial public offering of a non-voting stock on U.S. stock exchange. So this is pretty rare. That said, how does Snap's stock structure actually work? Now, there are 3 levels of Snap stock, Class A, B, and C. Class A stock is what you'll be able to buy on the New York Stock Exchange. These are the shares that don't include any votes, but investors who buy them are entitled to attend the company's annual shareholder meeting and ask questions. Now, Class B stock is reserved for Snap executives and early investors. Those shares come with 1 vote apiece. And finally, Class C stock is held exclusively by Snap's co-founders, CEO Evan Spiegel and CTO Bobby Murphy. Those shares come with 10 votes apiece. Now, with this structure, Spiegel and Murphy hold a combined 88.5% of the company's total voting power, according to Snap's IPO filing. This means that every major decision from Snap, from appointing a board member to a possible future sale, will be controlled by these 2 people. That's a big difference from, say, Twitter, which has only 1 class of stock with all the shares worth the same voting power. Under Twitter's model, investors have more of a voice, but it also opens the door for potential activist investors to buy up a big chunk of the company and influence the company's decisions, something that's been a concern at Twitter. And while it's hard for any one individual to impact a company's stock through the voting process, shareholders voting as a group can have a big influence on company decisions. The structure of Snap's IPO guarantees that won't happen at Snap. Maddie?
Reaction to Snapchat's IPO flooded social media. And while many are excited about Snapchat's initial success, others remain skeptical about the company's ability to maintain long-term growth. Snapchat CEO's fiancée, Miranda Kerr, gave the public an inside look into Snapchat's successful day on Wall Street. Her Snap story was filled with photos and videos of her behind the scenes with Evan Spiegel and other Snap Inc. employees. Now, a big day for Snapchat on Twitter. First, we have John Ehrlichman, who is an anchor for the Business News Network, providing us with a valuation of Snapchat in the past few months. March, of course, this month, it's at $28 billion. Now, the Wall Street Journal provided the fact that the Snapchat parent company ended its day as a public company up an astonishing 44%. The Los Angeles Times tweeted out the mood of the New York Stock Exchange today, and even showing some Snap stories from people who were there at the event. And the Wall Street Journal tweeted out, Snapchat's parent hit the stock market today with a value that is close to that of Marriott International and Target. And The Economist, interestingly enough, tweeted out that investors are excited about this and excited to invest in Snapchat, but don't always understand what Snapchat is actually all about and had to take a crash course in how to actually use Snapchat before investing. And lastly, we have Snapchat CEO fiancée Miranda Kerr tweeting out, congratulations to my love and Snapchat Inc. Now, Snapchat Inc. is one of the LA's premier startup companies. I sat down with USC Annenberg professor Gabe Kahn to see what the future holds for the emerging digital platform. Okay, so it's been a big decision this week for Snapchat, choosing not only to go public, but choosing to issue non-voting stock, meaning that shareholders will not have a say in who's on the board of the company. So do you think, this is different than Google or Facebook, who are offering limited voting rights. Do you think that this is going to have a say in who's choosing to invest in the company and who's not?
Well, I think what it really does is communicate to the investing public that this is a company where the founder really wants to leave an imprint and has a real vision about where the company is going to go. So if you have limited voting rights or you have no voting rights, those are sort of subtle variations. Really what you're telling people is that you're investing in a company, but somebody else is driving it and will be driving it for the foreseeable future.
Right. So something, another thing that's unique about Snapchat is, they've chosen to have their headquarters here in Los Angeles as opposed to Silicon Valley. Do you feel that this is going to bring a lot of tech innovation or investment to the Los Angeles region?
Yeah, I think the way that you see these things usually develop is that you have a core group of people who are involved in the founding of a company. That company goes public, they get fabulously wealthy, and they get bored and they move off and start new ventures. They bring a lot of wealth with them, they bring a lot of connections, and that's the kind of thing that really can sort of start the ball rolling or bring sort of a critical mass to a new sort of tech sector.
Khan also says he does not foresee any major changes coming to Snapchat as a result of the public offering, and it is unlikely that individual shareholders will be able to steer the company into a new direction. Annenberg Media's Brad Stryker is live at Snapchat's headquarters in Venice. Brad?
Snap's headquarters are actually all around me, but you'd never be able to guess because none of these buildings are marked with a company name or even a logo. Now, it's been a big day for the social media giant. That's because for Snapchat's parent company, it made history as the #1 biggest IPO to ever come from a company based out of Los Angeles. After its first day of public trading, Snap's IPO went up 44%. The stock went up 44%, closing at $24.48. That puts Snapchat's total company value at about $33 billion. Now, just to put that in perspective for you, Twitter's company value is about $11 billion. And when you're looking at Facebook, we're talking about a $395 billion value. Now, despite Snapchat's success on the stock market today, a lot of investors and analysts are actually concerned about the company's prospects for long-term success. That's primarily because the company reported a net loss of about $515 million last year, which has a lot of people wondering how the company can possibly be viewed as a success. Now, I've actually been out here all day long, and there have been a number of protesters who have come outside of Snapchat's headquarters, all of them Venice Beach residents concerned about what the company is doing to the culture of the nearby community. Our reporter Tommy Brooksbank was out earlier today, and he spoke with a lot of those residents to hear more about their concerns.
Now, thanks, Brad. And of course, we saw Tommy's package just earlier. Snap's IPO, as Brad said, was the biggest ever for a Los Angeles-based company. And now with me right now is Faraz Abidi, who is a tech entrepreneur in Los Angeles. Tell me a little bit about what your company does, SprintRay, and what this whole Snap IPO going to Wall Street, becoming this huge, big international deal means for tech startups like yours.
Right. So SprintRay is a 3D printer by two USC PhD students. We were on Kickstarter about 2 years ago, so not quite an IPO, but things are looking good for us. Not yet, but we're trying to grow, and maybe we'll get there. We'll see.
So you make the product that you make is a printer that can print very delicate little things like this, an Eiffel Tower that you probably can't see at home, but there's little words printed off that are really, really delicate and very precise.
Exactly. So our founders they did their PhD in 3D printing. I didn't know that was a program, but apparently USC offers it, and that's why they were able to make something like this.
I don't know. So a company like Snapchat going to Wall Street, becoming now a publicly traded company, but before that becoming a whole worldwide success. And it's the biggest company that come out of Los Angeles with the biggest IPO. What does that mean for tech startups like yours?
Right. I mean, of course we want investment, we want to grow, but the thing is there's no such thing as a free lunch. So a lot of the time when you are offered money, you're not going to say no, but you don't realize that means you're giving up equity and you're giving up power. So one thing which I can tell you SprintRay was very careful about was before we started seeking investment, we figured out what we're going to do with the money. We had a game plan for how we were going to grow and how we were going to pursue our path going forward.
So how do you know when it's time to take your company public?
Right. There's a couple different factors. I think one part of it is seeing if the current in isn't enough to grow as rapidly as you want to, and you see a more ambitious growth plan, which is possible. If you get money coming in, then that's a really good way to go. You can get really smart people to advise you even without them investing. And that's what we did. We got USC business professors to guide us. So to answer your question, they kind of told us.
Well, Faraz, maybe one day we'll see you ringing the opening bell of the New York Stock Exchange.
That would
Best
be
of luck
great.
to your company, Sprint Ray.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, Faraz, and we'll send it back to Madison with more. Actually, it seems like we might have a couple.
Thanks, Mark. Drew Schweneman joins me now to talk about how USC students feel about the giant social media giant.
Yeah, Madison, you'd be surprised to see how students rank Snapchat compared to other social apps.
All right, so Snapchat just went public today, and we want to know what your favorite social platform. So you're going to stick a Post-it note corresponding to one of these apps. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I know there's a lot of other social platforms out there, but they don't really matter. Oh. So why Snapchat?
I like the fact that it's just kind of loose and free. And
I love when people know my life. I love when it disappears because no one else needs to know my life.
What's your favorite effect?
I like the throwing up rainbow.
That's a fun one. Thank you. You can tell me why you like it if you want, or you can post it and go. See you. Thank you.
So now here's the big question. What's your favorite?
Okay, well, I'm a big Snapchat fan, but really I'm more of an Instagram kind of girl. I like just scrolling through, seeing the updates, what's happening in people's lives. It's the Reader's Digest version.
That makes two of us. I'll take Instagram as my favorite also.
Oh, there you go.
Well, thanks for watching See It Live from everyone at Annenberg Media. I'm Mark Salinger.
And I'm Madison Weil. You can watch us on the web at uscannenbergmedia.com.